everyone, welcome back to my channel, and today we're going to be talking about how to manage productivity, especially as someone with ADHD. So, as someone who has ADHD slash neurodivergent, I have had to come up with so many different methods in order to fully understand myself, my brain, how I function. And one of the best pieces of advice I've gotten is to work with my brain and not against my brain. And I got that, I believe, from the ADHD brain or the brain hacker or something like that. And what that means is that as someone who is neurodivergent, we are constantly always trying to model after neurotypical people. You know, a lot of these study methods you may see or productivity tools is kind of mostly geared toward the average person, right? The neurotypical person. How else can they even sell their product? But for a neurodivergent person, we need to come up with creative ways to motivate ourselves. For my own self, I was diagnosed with ADHD, I believe a year ago, and was it a year ago? No, maybe 2 years ago at this point. No, it's been a year. So I've been diagnosed with ADHD for a year, and that knowledge alone has been like absolutely life-changing. I cannot even imagine what my life would be like right now if I had not known that ADHD. And so I'm going to also talk about medication here. Again, I am not a healthcare professional. I do not obviously say that any of my advice is similar to a therapist or a psychotherapist or a psychologist or psychiatrist for that matter. So take what I say about medication with a grain of salt. However, if you are someone who wants to go the stimulant route, I highly suggest it, just because its ability to really provide the chemicals that our brain lacks is extremely helpful in being able to actually function like a neurotypical person. Because as someone with ADHD, we lack this specific thing called dopamine, right? I'm sure all of you have heard it all the time. Dopamine, this neurotransmitter dopamine. And there's even been some forums that talk about like ADHD being dopamine deficiency. Yes, so with our lack of dopamine, we can naturally produce it. That is why we need so much stimulation, right? Whether that's engagement through various novelty activities, or whether that is doing things, starting projects and ending them, or just needing things to be very complex to hyper focus on. What's really nice about stimulants is that it really allows you to have that dopamine in your brain so you can actually find menial tasks somewhat interesting. And for me, that has been cleaning, that has been laundry, that has been just like reading a book even can be really difficult for someone with ADHD. So all of this spiel to say, so what are some ways in which you can utilize tools without medication in order to really empower yourself through ADHD? So number one, first thing is identify your self-limiting beliefs. And I know, like, blah, blah, therapy, all that stuff. But I do think it's extremely important just because being neurodivergent, very easy for us to, again, compare ourselves to neurotypical people. Very easy for us to feel like we're inadequate compared to neurotypical people. So for people with neurodivergency, it's imperative that we really identify what our self-limiting beliefs are, right? One of the things that I've had to learn, for example, is like, I am not a bad person because I am messy. I don't know where this moral belief came in to be, but you know that saying, like, I don't know what it is, like, your clean mind, or a clean area means like a clean mind or something like that, which has a lot of value in so many different ways. However, for someone with ADHD, our brains work so quickly that, you know what, I actually don't want to clean my desk right now because I'd rather go on this spiral about learning about the specific niche hobby that I particularly like, because it's way more fascinating to me. And that's okay. That you're not a bad person for not being able to do mundane tasks. And I think it's difficult for ADHDers to not feel like that. So, do you feel like you're a bad person because of this? Do you feel like you're stupid? I think that's another very common self-limiting belief that people with ADHD have, is that they feel stupid, right? Just because we can't seem to sit in a classroom, and if we sit in a classroom, we can't seem to focus. Or when we talk, we ramble. Or when we talk, it goes very tangential. Or the way we are, energy is just more bubblier, right, than other people. Or our hobbies or interests are weird compared to a lot of people. Like, you know, not everyone has special interests the way that we do, right? And when we really are interested in something, we really learn a lot about that. And if you perhaps have some kind of other developmental abilities latched onto that, that just, adds on to more of perhaps the special interests that you have. For my own self, I'm still working on this, but I still feel kind of weird for having the interests that I do. And one of my hyperfixations for the past maybe 5 years or so is MBTI/Myers-Briggs. And so Myers-Briggs is this like personality archetypical tool, and it's like a puzzle for me to understand people. A lot of people say that it's not rooted in science, whatever. I don't really care about that. It is something that I love so much that I bring up to almost everyone that I meet. And that can be kind of weird, honestly, because, not everyone is going to be like, hey, tell me about your weaknesses. Tell me what you're afraid of. How do you process information? Not everyone is exactly having those kind of conversations with people right off the bat, at least. Sometimes I feel like I lack the lack of the social finesse in order to really understand when that's appropriate and when that's not appropriate. So, anywho, like I was saying, MBTI is a fixation of mine, and I really like creatures and like monsters and bugs specifically when I draw. A lot of my art is kind of dark and kind of gritty, and psychedelic even, and I'm still kind of working through feeling like that's not weird and that it's okay to have this like particular artistic interest. And it's valid for me to even have this interest because part of me suppressed it and be like, why don't I make happy things that people love? But the truth is, that type of art really makes me happy, and that's the most important thing. Number 3, right? Another self-limiting belief is that you're lazy, and I think this is a very common one with ADHDers, is that we feel like, why can't I just do it? Why can't I just go and do my laundry? Why am I so fucking lazy, right? I think there should be a level of grace and compassion for yourself when you have ADHD, just because we're motivated by completely different things than a neurotypical person. And actually, we're not that lazy. We have pretty intense work ethic for things that we're genuinely interested in. I mean, I don't know about anybody y'all. I don't know about y'all, but I can spend sometimes hours diving into my hobby, just like this video right now, and totally neglect my physiological needs. I don't think that's pretty lazy. I might say so. It may seem like we're not focusing on the important things, but we're definitely not lazy. I think we're lazy in a sense that, like, why can't we just fit within the mold of what society expects of us? And, living within a capitalist society that expects, everyone to be productive in a very specific way, we definitely don't always fit within that mold. We just do things a little differently. And really reframing these self-limiting beliefs is going to really help you so you won't sabotage yourself when you're trying different productivity methods. And realize, you're not going to get things perfectly the first time as I'm going on to this. And that's totally okay. Because again, the most important thing is you learn how to work with your brain. That's the most important thing. Every brain is completely different. Again, I'm going to bring everything into this. Every brain is completely different. Figure out what works for you. Okay? So this is going to be my own experience again. And one of the things that really helped me is having a watch. And I'm one of those people with an Apple Watch. I love my Apple Watch so much just because I can keep track of time because we have time blindness. I can set reminders on it anytime I want. I can put alarms, whatever. Like, it is amazing. And also I get really addicted to like looking at my stats and like my physical health and stuff too, because then sometimes like we can be kind of sedentary if we like, sometimes I feel like we can forget to move. So the Apple Watch, or just like a smartwatch in general, is extremely helpful, or even just like a regular watch in general is really just good to have, or just having it and accessible on your arm is like super just helpful, just because you can learn how to identify like, okay, chunking time in a particular way, blocking time and batching it, so that this XYZ requires this amount of time. And sometimes it makes the task less daunting. Sometimes I'll just put my watch on for like 2 minutes to do something I really don't want to do. I'm like, okay, I only have 2 minutes. That's not that long, okay? And sometimes really starting is really difficult for us. Very much so. Another thing is, really important for us as reinforcers. I actually work as a behavior technician, so we talk about reinforcers all the time. This is what motivates the children I work with, but yeah, you need a reinforcer. So whenever you accomplish a task that you find to be difficult, reward yourself. Whether, for myself, I found that like allowing myself to watch YouTube videos, learn new things, amazing reinforcer. I will do anything just to do that, or listen to music. These are my top 3 reinforcers that I feel like no matter what, I will do anything just in order to be able to do that. So like listen to a podcast, watching a YouTube video, or like listen to music. Those things are really helpful for me when I'm doing something really menial, like doing laundry or cleaning, or maybe driving for a very long time, for example. Just something that requires like more meticulous detail. I really appreciate having these reinforcers with me, or even doing more administrative organizational tasks if you work in an office job. Very, very crucial in order to keep yourself motivated. And I think, again, it's really important to pace yourself when you use these reinforcers, because sometimes we can have impulse control issues. So we can just take one reinforcer and just like run with it, and then not actually like pace ourselves, and we end up just going down like a YouTube spiral for several hours instead of actually accomplishing what we intended to do in the first place. So again, pace yourself, because the reward is so much better when you do. And also, this kind of intertwines with this idea of a dopamine detox. So a dopamine detox is when you just lessen your amount of dopamine, right? That literally when you wake up, don't go on your phone, don't eat sugary foods, just don't expose yourself to novelty, because that really triggers our dopamine levels, right? And start with the really difficult task first. And I know that's really hard, right? Again, reinforcers. I don't know, if you're studying for the MCAT, for example, start studying for MCAT right in the morning when you wake up, so your brain, first of all, in the morning is when your brain is most optimal. That is when you can actually start studying, and you can actually probably focus, because you have all this dopamine in your brain. And my brain personally, I love possibility, love ideas. It can bounce with different ideas. Instead of doing what I gotta do, I'll just like live in my imagination and brainstorming something instead of doing what I gotta do, which is kind of happening right now. But anywho, do the really hard thing first. And another thing that is really helpful as well is just, lastly, energy management, okay? Sometimes folks with ADHD, we feel like we can do everything sometimes at once. We don't know how long specific tasks take, or what energy levels are like. So again, we can burn out, right? Because we can create this elaborate productivity schedule. And trust me, I had friends who were obsessed with productivity. I was like, I'm trying to be like you, my boy. So I also got Notion, which is this productivity app. I started doing this whole spiel, made it all beautiful, made this whole database and everything. Did I use it? No, I don't even use it to this day. Okay? I was like, I'm going to start bullet journaling. I'm going to start like using a planner. Honestly, the only thing that really sticks for me is my digital calendar. I love my digital calendar so much because it's so accessible. It is so easy to have. I can pull up my watch, I can pull up my phone, I can go on my laptop. It's in the cloud. It is so helpful for me. And not only that, I give myself grace to also use paper if I would like to. Paper usually is helpful if I'm breaking down tasks in a more specific way. But again, it's okay to use multiple methods of tracking your productivity you need to. And again, like really writing things down is pretty helpful when you feel overwhelmed, and really just starting things one at a time and acknowledging, you know what? Life is a marathon. You won't complete everything all at once, but just start. Just do it. Just a small piece of that thing that you got to do. Because if you, in my opinion, not only in my opinion, but like if you feel like in order to be this optimal person, you need to do things perfectly, this perfectionism actually reinforces this belief that you are not enough unless you do X, Y, Z. And realistically, when you think that way, it's probably not going to happen what you're going to do. You're never going to accomplish that task or do that thing in the most perfect way. Mostly it's going to suck ass. Let's be fucking real. Especially if you're trying something new for the first time or trying a new habit for the first time, right? It's just going to suck. And you have to accept that it sucks. But the most important thing is a process, right? Of just starting and just chipping it away one at a time and using it as a reinforcer for yourself. So where was I going with that? Yeah, so again, habits take time to build, but it requires you to start first, and you need to break it down to pieces because, Rome wasn't built in a day, right? It takes steps in order to get there. And I'm reading this book right now called The Mountain Is You. It's by Brianna West. It's amazing. And one of the things it talks about is about perfection, and it's about like, when it comes to our life, right, and what really makes us happy. And for my own self, I'm still working through this. I have had these beliefs that like being a neurodivergent person, I need to be like this in order to be like a productive, functional person in society, right? And that's someone who is like, oh, I want to be successful, I want to be educated, I want to be like a keynote speaker, I want to be like an amazing artist, like all these lavish things. But then realistically, will I actually accomplish that? Do I actually want those things? What she was trying to get at in that book was like, actually humans, we just have very basic needs that we want to be met. And for my own self, I realized I struggle with a lot of self-love and self-acceptance, and I struggle with a lot of fear of feeling worthy of specific things. And ultimately, what is more important is just me accepting myself, believing in myself more. And she was just saying that, like, your lavish dreams will just vanish. Because I realized I use these things as a daydream, as a maladaptive daydreaming method, as opposed to really confronting what it takes actually to do it. And again, I stay in my comfort zone, I go in my head, I daydream, and I actually don't do shit. And fortunately, this is my time now where I'm like gonna get on my own way. I'm gonna do shit now, and I'm gonna do shit that I'm gonna say and I'm gonna do to myself. I'm not gonna tell anyone about it. I'm just gonna fucking do it. Just do it. That's been super helpful in just being more realistic about my goals and really meeting myself where I'm at, and really having a more enriching and fulfilling life. I'm still trying to find that balance now, especially being post-grad and stuff, but trust me, the only way you're gonna know is when you actually do that damn thing you've been wanting to do, and actually ask yourself, do you actually want to do that? If you can imagine yourself spending the next couple days like chugging along doing this task, which I took this actually concept from Heidi Priebe from YouTube, which is amazing. She's amazing. And she talks about like self-regulating through our daydreams, right? For example, if you want to be, I don't know, like a veterinarian, right? Can you actually see yourself going through medical school for that long and then working with a variety of animals? Medical school takes a decade, right? And maybe for your daydream brain, you're just like, oh yeah, a decade. I can do it. Okay, but can you? You know how long a decade is? Okay? What is happening in your life right now? Do you actually think that, can you actually put a pause on your current life and then throw everything away to just focus on studying? Because realistically, that's what's going to happen. It's a huge sacrifice to work in healthcare in particular, especially going through medical school. If you're willing to do that, great. Go for it. But for my own self, I realized that I don't even think about the day-to-day process and what it takes to get to specific places, and I'm like, actually, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be that famous. I don't want to be that rich. I don't want to have those fucking problems. I don't want to have rich people problems. I don't want to have like rich people problems in the sense that like I don't want to be like an investment banker. Okay, personally, just not how my brain works. Not to say like I'm still working through my relationship with money. That's a whole other video. But when it comes to just figuring out what I want to do for myself, what I really enjoy the most is teaching, creativity, human beings in some way, self-development, art, dance, and I'm a happy camper. That's all I need to be happy. And I'm right now in this phase of my life, which is why this YouTube video exists, to really just take a beat, really confront myself, because it's time for us to get to work, to be present, and really to do the things that we've always dreamt of doing. Because ultimately, the only person holding yourself back is yourself. And, you know, we can go on and on about systems and structures and equities. And trust me, I know as someone who has studied that, literally in college, how that also has kept me in a victim mindset. And I know that sounds problematic, and I can elaborate on that further. But what I'm trying to say is, yes, these things can be true. However, you also have autonomy. You also have agency to change your life. And no one else is going to come and save you. No one else is going to do it for you, especially when you're an adult. I'm sorry. No one fucking cares about you enough to do that shit for you. Someone's gonna get fucking tired of taking care of you, okay? You need to do that shit for yourself. And if you're tired of being stuck where you're at, you gotta fucking do something about it. And I'm here to help you along that journey. So anyways, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and let me know if you resonate with anything in the video, if you like my teaching style. I actually really enjoyed making this video. It was really fun to make, but let me know if there's anything you'd like to see, and I'll catch you in the next week or so. Bye!